On today's episode of I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to show you anyway. For part one of this, I wanted to just talk about, people who can't drive manual, and if you're going to start learning to drive manual, just the process of how you would do that. So the thing is, some hints and tips for when you want to be good at driving manual. If you're going to go from, say you're accelerated and you've gone to gone from first to second, then you've gone to third, and then fourth, and then fifth, and now you're coming up to traffic lights or a stop street or something like that. The best technique for doing for slowing down and that would be to actually use your gearbox to slow you down so that you're always remaining in gear, which means that you're using the engine braking basically to slow you down, not just relying on your brake pads. The reason that this is a good idea is because if your brakes ever had to fail and you were forced to actually use the gearbox to slow down, you already know how to do that properly. So using this as a technique all the time when you're stopping or when you're coming to a stop is a really good habit to get into. So say you drop down the gears, you watch your RPM. You should have an RPM gauge in a manual. Some cars don't, but that's very rare. You watch your RPM, you wait for it to come down, say 2.5, and then you go down to the next gear, and what you'll see, you don't release the clutch too quickly because you don't want to blow up the clutch trying to slow down using your engine, but you're also going to go simultaneously having your foot on the brake while slowing down, and then just using the gearbox as a second measure, it slows you down quicker. Anyway, when it goes to about 2.5, you want to wait till that drops, or when the car feels like it's struggling, then you go down another gear. You'll feel it because the engine will be go shaky, and it'll be a weird feeling. Then you go down a gear and a gear and a gear. Don't think I would ever go as far as I would. Sometimes I'll go down to I'll go into third, but I'd never go into second when I'm slowing down, because unless of course the cars in front of you, you can see that there's a gap forming and the cars have all started to move again. The traffic light has changed. Everybody started to move, and you can see that the car in front of you is just about to go again. Then you will obviously, you're going to accelerate again. So then you want to go into third or second because you want to take up that gap. You want to be ready to accelerate again, not just sitting there. Because people get annoyed when you have to slam your brakes all the way down, come to a complete stop, shift into first, start accelerating, go into second. And especially some cars, especially utes and diesels and things that have a lot of torque, you rarely, if you're coming to a slow stop and you're not actually stopping, will you ever have to go into first. Even from off the line, a lot of utes you can take off in second if you're on a flat road. Alternatively, if you're on a hill, then obviously it's going to be a big problem because you've got to be in first and you've got to ride the hell out of the clutch and try and accelerate from there. But yeah, for the most part, it's all right going into second. You just have to ride the clutch a little bit more when taking off. The other thing, you don't want to rev, if you're driving a diesel, you don't want to rev it high. I've heard lots of stories where people have driven diesels like they drive a petrol car and rev it too high, and the parts inside the engine don't stay inside the engine, they end up outside the engine, and then there's holes. It looks like Swiss cheese. It's not a good look. So yeah, it's not like petrol cars are more forgiving. You can get quite a lot of revs, like 6k on a 6k on a petrol car. Yeah, that's easy to get to. But on diesel, it's like I'd be shifting around, yeah, around 2.5, 3 maximum. That's about as much torque as you're gonna get. You're not gonna get any more than that, and after that, you're just revving the hell out of the engine for no apparent reason, and it just looks dumb. Well, in my opinion, it does. Um, Other habits that you should get into in driving, and this goes for automatic and manual. I would always be checking my blind spots, like check my mirror, checking the mirror, check behind your right shoulder, check if there's other people around, other traffic coming. Good habit to get into. Other than that, I can't think of anything else at the moment that is really important. But yeah, you want to be careful, like when you're shifting gears, always put the clutch all the way down to the floor. So many inexperienced drivers tend to only put a halfway, and then you end up grinding into the gear, which really damages the gearbox. Gearbox is very expensive to replace, and if you can avoid it, it's best not to damage it. So yeah, part 2 of I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyway, will probably be about how to check the fluids, because I mean, if you've only just started driving and you've never driven a car before, owned a car, it's a good idea to know how to check your oil and your coolant and your other fluids, power steering, brake fluid, clutch fluid. What else is there? I think that's about it. But anyway, I'll cover that in the next video. Thanks for watching.